Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves for the support extraordinaire whose journey with Ground Zero has just catapulted them into the prestigious PCS realm, a maestro on the Rift, and a strategic mastermind behind the scenes. He's the guardian of victory and the enchanter of dreams, mostly mine. Get ready to dive into the heart of the LCO excitement with the one and only Benvi. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, Pike?
Oh, look, I'm doing real good. It's a beautiful sunny day. You can't be too mad with the weather, am I right?
It's true. It's pretty nice here too.
So, mate, congratulations. We're doing this episode. We had our first recording, and classic Pike, I fucked it up. So you've come back again because you're an absolute legend. Mate, we're at the end of the split. You have landed the first seed into PCS with Ground Zero. How are you guys feeling?
It feels great, really. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it feels like didn't expect the finals to be so easy. So, I mean, not easy, but we expected it to be 5 games, real close banger. So, a little anticlimactic, but I mean, the win is a win, and it feels insane. And I think all the boys are super excited to go to PCS.
Yeah, it was a big win because again, everyone was coming in with Bliss being that sort of head honcho. We've been saying for the whole split that Ground Zero, Antic, and Bliss have been sort of the top 3 teams, and I know even Swiper said the same thing. Everyone's been saying it. Did you feel a lot of pressure on that sort of side of it too, with all rosters feeling quite stacked, and then getting the win? Was there a bit of pressure behind all that?
Not really. I think generally in my career, I've always been placed lower than I think I should be. So for example, on Bliss, when I was playing, we were predicted 4th, and we ended up coming 2nd or 1st going into PCS. So it was always kind of like that. So I think the pressure comes from inside of the teams. Not really outside, because I feel generally, yeah, my team I'm on is underhyped, or underrated. Which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it is. And so yeah, I mean, I just felt comfortable and confident with our practice, and I always knew we could be the best team, and yeah, it just worked out this time, which feels great.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that you feel like you guys have been not so much the underdogs or sort of treated as such, but yeah, you genuinely yourself haven't had the greatest rep, but you are a fantastic player. At the end of the day, we've seen you pull out picks that no one else has been playing. You're pulling them off. You're making plays with such unique styles in the bot lane. Again, you and Lemus is just that combo, right? It was a Bliss original. Now it's come back onto Ground Zero, and it's just in short terms, it's fire, man. It is hot. It's cooking. It's working. What do you have to say to those people that have sort of doubted you all these years? Because you've clearly proven yourself to be a top tier player.
Yeah, I agree. I think for people who doubted or sort of underrate me, I think they just don't understand what they're looking at, really. Because if you understand draft and you understand how things work in the game, and you understand deeper concepts that supports need to be very good at, like warding, timers, etc., I think it's plain to see that I'm a top support in this region. And I mean, you could just look at draft, how many bans need to be spent to just stop the bot lane. It just makes the game so much easier for my team, and draft way easier. So yeah,
it's so, I 100% agree. They focused you guys so heavily, and I feel you can't ignore the rest of the team though. Schönfire is just so good. I remember when we first had our first call, again, I feel so terrible that it fucked up, but I talked about how Schönfire had not the greatest split with I think PGG, right? He didn't have the greatest sort of backing. I feel like you guys have really enabled him this split and said, hey Schön, we trust you, man. Just go do your thing, and he showed up as well. So it's I don't think it was just your contribution. I feel as a team, you guys have played really succinct. How do you, and it comes to my question, how do you guys feel have evolved from the beginning of Split to now to become the best team this split?
Yeah, I think in terms of team growth, I think going into the split, I think for sure probably us and Antic have the highest upside in terms of player skill. And it's sort of just getting that order gel, right? For example, Theon can play tanks and carries, right?
Yeah.
Jungle can play, Shern can play engage and carries. Kisei can play everything, right?
Oh man.
Lemus can play everything. He can play like the caster ADs, and he's really fast to pick up anything, right? Like best Smolder as soon as it came out.
Oh, for
he
sure.
just spammed it. And then I guess the one question mark you could argue is me, where on Bliss I didn't show the like engaged champions as much. I think a bit of that was my own skill level on them, but also the way that team interacted. It's very difficult to play tanks in that or the engage role in that team. So I think definitely in this team I've been enabled a lot to sort of do that, and you can see like linking up with Shern is really good, and basically all the timers we play on is really clean. So yeah, I think we sort of reached a bit of that potential by the end of the split, which is what we needed to do to win.
Yeah, 100%. I think you definitely started to see that synergy and everyone playing their game. I think this is the first roster I think I've seen you on properly, even though your Bliss roster was so good. I think in particular this one, you were given the tools that you needed while also passing the right tools to everyone else. It's sort of like you talked about that gel and how everyone was coming together and actually able to just show up to the party and play well. But on the other side of that, I want to know, like, have you been making progress in learning to play more engaged supports and trying to progress those skills so you can be a bit more of a flex for your team too?
Yeah, 100%. Me as a player, I mean, this split I took a different approach where I played a lot of solo queue mainly just to learn champions mechanics. I think support is very different in solo queue and competitive. Historically in my career, I always go for outside help. I'll just message whoever I know to get coaching or look at things. So for example, this split, did a lot of work with Cupcake as usual. Also Soul Strikes, an old OCE coach. Also looked over a lot of our games with him and just watched a ton of VODs. Just about these support champions and how they interact. And I think the big thing is that Shern also, I think for engaged champions you need to have really good synergy with your jungler. Otherwise it's very difficult to make it work. So Shern definitely enabled that as well.
Yeah, no, awesome. I actually want to get like just a real quick sidetrack, and I told you I would even do this. I want to get your opinion from a coach's perspective, from a pro player's perspective on VOD reviewing. I think we know that teams like to do very intensive VOD reviewing, but can you talk us through the benefits of that and why it's important to do that? I think is a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two different sort of review types, right? There's one, you review your own gameplay and you just go through and look at every mistake, right? Or and you do this in a team environment as well, like after a scrim game. So that's one thing, and I think that's important just to recognize and understand the tendencies your team has, and to review as a team. And the other one is individual VOD reviewing games, pro games, right? Or pro players solo queue. And that is very different, and I think that can be a skill, which I definitely got a lot better at this split. I think a lot of players say they watch VODs or say they looked at this game, but they're just watching it on their second monitor or while they're playing solo queue or in queue and not really focused. And I think you actually have to go in with an idea of what you're looking at. And this split, right, has given us a tool where we can basically look at any region's pro games and get the ruffle file, which is very useful. So I just have like a giant folder of ruffles that I just go through and watch, and that's really good. So
to get that file off you, how much do I need to send? Like, that's the big question.
Maybe DM me later if there's a game that interests you.
Alright, I'll have to find out. Just for casting purposes, I just want to go in and cast some high elo games without other casters' voices on it. And I hate muting over Skimmy because it's skimmy. So it's a whole other thing. But no, that's a whole other thing. So, awesome. I want to bring it back to ground zero, right? Let's talk about you guys. You're heading to PCS. Such a big thing now that OS is now in that PCS, so is LJL. Walk us through your team's mentality right now. How are you guys feeling heading to PCS?
I think we're feeling good. I think the main thing is I think I'm going in with the expectation just to learn and get as good as possible and not really care about whether the team succeeds or not, because that'll come secondary to if I do everything right or everything correctly myself. And I think the biggest detriment to teams that go overseas is just the environment and how the team normally like shatters and breaks under the pressure. And a lot of that comes from an expectation that they need to do well, or the pressure they need to do well, stuff like that. So just going in without pressure on the team to do well, just knowing that if I do everything I can, that's all I can really control, and hopefully the results will follow, and if not, it'll still be a good experience for myself.
Yeah, nice. I love that. I think that's such a big thing for Oceania heading overseas too, right? Is we always have such high expectations, being like, oh yeah, Chiefs, they were the best in the split, they had the greatest, undefeated, oh blah blah blah, and then they go over and they just get absolutely just butt fucked. I think because there was so much expectation, but I know because from my point of view, especially as like not only like a caster and a bit of an analyst too, our teams were so closely matched to what I was watching in PCS as well. Like not only sort of a similar play style, I guess tempos may be the only thing that PCS might have on top of us. But I'm seeing the bar, the ceiling of that is definitely getting smaller. Do you agree with that? Do you think we're starting to really catch up and keep pace with PCS? Because they are a world, they're a world's champion as well. PSG Talent have won worlds before. Like, do you think we're able to start keeping up? Are we progressing?
Yeah. Spell correct, TPA, but yeah.
TPA. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, apologies. I was close.
That's alright. It was close.
Did
close.
Talent not win?
Still a Taiwanese team. Nope.
Are you sure?
Yeah, what year?
Bro, am I...
Gonna have to quiz you later on all your years world champions.
Oh, fuck.
It's alright.
Maybe I'm trolling. No, but please.
They're definitely the best minor region. It's them and Vietnam.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question then? Oh, do I think the gap's closed?
Yeah.
I haven't watched too closely the PCS. I mainly just watched like their picks and then the individual games on the picks I was interested in. But from my experience playing against them, just the way their teams sort of flow together and interact in the game is just very fast and smooth. They all know their individual jobs and it works together like a machine. And the problem is that when an OS team goes over, right, you normally have like a different piece of the sort of machine that's meant to work together will not click, and therefore you just get run over, and it's very hard to review because it feels like your role is impacted by your teammates' roles, and then your teammates feel like their role is impacted by your role. So you just gotta all be there individually at the level, otherwise it won't click. So it's very hard to tell if we're there until we get there. All I can do is focus on what I know and how good the team is, and hopefully that's enough to compete, and then just learn and keep up as much as possible while there.
Yeah, awesome. And on that, like, do you guys have, are you going over a little bit early, get a bit of boot camping in, try and get some scrims against some of those teams? Because that's the big thing for OS is we don't get the same level of scrims that you would get over in PCS because they have access to the LCK, they have access to China, they have access to all those other regions. Are you getting some time in over there? Are you guys heading over soon?
Yeah, I think we head over as soon as possible. I think PCS playoffs start on the 12th and we leave on the 6th.
Wow.
So it's a pretty quick turnover anyway. Yeah, so we'll have a little bit of time before, and I think the format's a little different this time. I need to sort of look at it a bit more, but yeah, we should have some time to prepare at least.
Yeah, no, that's good. At least you guys will have a little bit of action. I'm sure Styled and Arsh have probably got some big things planned for you guys and probably teeing up some scrims already and saying, hey, we're going to be versing this team, and I feel like they're pretty on it, as those guys are, so that's going to be good to hear. Do you think coaching staff are feeling some heat after this? Do you think Arsh and Styled are going to be nervous in PCS?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sort of thrown into the deep end now.
Yeah.
Sink or swim. But I have faith in them, and they have plays that they can learn a lot from, and they have the space to show their worth, and I think they've done quite well this split, so hopefully we'll see more, and I think they'll sort of achieve it.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I think I'm looking forward to, as sad as it is that we're at the end of this split and it's basically over, and hopefully we can get a DreamHacks final and all that sort of jazz as well too. Actually, no, the finals are this week, isn't it? Or next week? Do we have
For what?
for LCO? Are you versing
No.
Antic? No. So it probably will be a DreamHacks live event, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
But maybe.
Maybe. I'm probably thinking it will be, but I'm not gonna. We can't really say anything.
Yes, we can't say anything.
We can't say anything. But I just want to know where the venue is, man. That's all I care about. They haven't told us shit. I'm very tired, and I want to book flights. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother Pike problem. But no, okay. So, well, what was I saying? Okay, let's go back to the. Let's not even worry. It was probably
Just how the
anyway.
coaching stuff would work, but
Yeah,
that question.
I think we're pretty good. I think they're going to be okay. I think Arsh has his head screwed on. I think Styles there to make sure it's nice and tight and it's got the right WD-40, so it's not going to move or anything. So we're looking good. Let's talk about. I want to talk about the individual players, right? I think let's break down Tien. Let's look at Shern, Kisei. I want to get your coaching experience and what you think their pros and maybe their cons are of what you think is going to really help the team maximize their potential in PCS. Well, because I know they're all top tier players, right? It's so hard to be really hard and a bit nitty gritty on them, but I want to look at the real small stuff because this is going to be what helps you guys next split, right? It's I want to get your opinion from reviewing this split of where we could improve for each player. So let's start with top lane. Let's start with Tien.
I think Tien is really insane mechanically. I think his biggest weakness throughout the split was just his early laning. But after, he is just like... I think Lemus explains it best where he could be O2, but he just applies way too much pressure in teamfights, and like he'll just be 10 times more useful than the enemy top laner at creating pressure in fights and dealing damage or doing whatever his role is. If he's on a carry, he'll be dealing damage. If he's on a tank, he'll be creating space. Like, he just does that better than anyone else. And I think the reason why we showed up so well this week is just because he sort of shored up that weakness a lot, and he wasn't really dying in lane, or he was staying ahead, or and that was sort of not a weakness. But you never know when it comes to PCS. The top lane at Calibar is definitely a lot better at PCS, so he'll be tested there, but he has the raw skill to be able to match. So that would be like the one weakness I'd say, but it's definitely something he can overcome, and he might have already overcome it. We just don't know until he's tested.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's awesome. I would 100% agree. I think that's exactly it. I think he was a little bit shaky at the start, but I think he was trying to find his footing and his sort of place in the team as well. And now that you guys feel a lot more solid, I think he's definitely sort of solidified that. That Aatrox game was the clencher for me. Like, my butt teach was so clenched that game because he just like soloed like 3 people as they were all so low. I was just like, yes, buddy, you keep going. But okay, we'll move on. Shernfire. Let's look at the jungle.
Shern. I think Shern, he has gone through it all, so he's probably, whatever I say is a weakness, he's probably had that as a weakness and gone through it even twice over his whole career and gotten better at it. So it's very hard to tell what's actually a weakness or something, maybe just something he's just not focused on right now because he doesn't think it's important. But in terms of weakness, maybe if he doesn't have a plan, maybe just adapting on the fly, because I think that just does come down to how just inherently skilled or talented you are. And I think Shern is good just because of how he grinds and his work ethic. So maybe just coming up against these like natural talents might be really hard. But I think he can, and yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a test, right? Maybe he already is good enough to pass the test right now, but we won't know until it's tested, and I think that's sort of similar for everyone on the team. Yeah,
for sure. Well, what's he doing well? Like, I think he's just an overall fantastic player, and I've always spoken very highly of Shernfire for quite a while. What do you think he's doing really well that's really going to maybe excel in an international level?
He's really structured, and he always hits the right timings, for me at least. Dive timings, link up timings, basically the 2 main ones I noticed as a support player being in the game. I'm never going to ward and being like, where's my jungler? I need my jungler, I can't ward, I'm just sat here doing nothing. He's always on time, or I'm never like getting ready for a dive and Shern's not doing something. He's either spotting the jungler or helping us with the dive, or he's doing a play on the other side of the map, so maybe we can't dive on this wave, but he's doing something topside, so it's fine.
Is he a punctual person? Like, have you noticed if he's a punctual person? Is he usually on time?
Yeah, he is. I would say so.
He's probably got a bit of
I'm just
OCD. It makes sense. It's all clicking together.
I'm just laughing because this one time he was late to scrims because he thought it was a half an hour late, and yeah, it was really weird because he's normally not late to scrims, so everyone was like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
he's
I can
normally
see
punctual
that.
for sure.
So when you have a very structured gameplay, and I do this in like my other games, so when I'm playing like Power Worlds, like I'm very meticulous with that sort of stuff. And when I get to League, I'm like, okay, I'm quite meticulous too, but my hands just can't keep up with my brain. That's my problem. So, but when I'm playing, I was like, I'm very very particular. I'm sort of just like, oh, but if I do this, and I do, but if I move it slightly to the left, just ever so better, it'll be this. And I think like that too. So I'm glad that me and Shenfire have something in common besides our good looks. Let's look at Kisei. One of the best mid laners in the game right now. Tell me about him. Pros and cons.
I mean, biggest pro is that he's not shackled by champion pool. I think you saw this with both Ryoma and Harry. They were really shackled by their champion pool. You saw Bliss would ban, and I think Zonas even said it in their interview after the game. They banned Zero Orianna, and they said they were pretty lost on how to play the game because they just kept that as a staple in their team comps. Kisei can play it all, right? He just pulls out the Hui, runs a clinic in game 4. I think there's not much to say about negatives with Kisei. I think it's just maybe sort of some small team play aspects. But individually he's there and he can compete and he's shown that, so not too worried about Ron. I think he'll do fine.
Oh, he's gonna be fine, honestly. Now Lemus, the Smolder King himself. What do we think for Lemus? I think he's also pretty well rounded too. His champion pool is deep. Mechanically he's good, but pros and cons. I want to hear it from you.
This is a hard one because I feel like bot lane is just so intertwined that maybe our weakness. I mean, at the start, we sort of recognized our weakness was playing losing lanes matchups or scaling matchups, which we learned a lot from King and Draku, because I think this is what they do really, really well, is they'll just have a scaling matchup and they'll just recall on perfect timings and never die and just scale up and be more useful. Whereas our crutch was that or maybe not a crutch, but the thing we were best at was just playing really aggressive lanes where do something on each slow pushing wave and get as much and squeeze as much as possible out of the matchup. And we weren't so good at the reverse side, and that's something that maybe we're not fully there yet, and that PCS bot lanes would definitely try to punish. So that might be our weakness, bot lane. But in terms of strength, like Lemus plays everything and he works really hard. Like he's always playing the game, doing content, grinding, streaming, so it all sort of intertwines and sort of plays into his game. So it's good.
Yeah. I actually have a question on that content side. Do you guys think that the other players in your team, like you said, Lima streams quite often. I know you do a lot of coaching off onto the side as well. That's a big thing for you, and I love talking about that with you as well. Will we see maybe an increase in streamers that are pro players trying to make more? Because I think Lemus was streaming for a while, but I've been watching him ever since he started back in this split, and he's been growing in numbers very rapidly because he's got that presence, right? It makes a lot of sense. Do you think he's a good example of other pro players looking to start streaming soon and have a bit more of a community aspect as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's easier said than done because a lot of the players, especially not on the top teams, have university, job, etc. So right now I know that Lemus's basically second job is streaming. So it's LCO and streaming and making content. Those are the two things he's focused on most now. So he sort of has the room to do it. But in saying that, a lot of players do just have the spare time and they would rather just grind solo queue without streaming or whatever. So players could definitely do it, and it's definitely beneficial. And I think Ground Zero has probably the most streamed hours across all our players. So me and Kisei have streamed the least. But Thien has streamed a ton, Shern streams all the time, and Lima streams all the time. And I think it's very beneficial, and I think they're very, very aware that you can't just make it in OS as just being a pro player. You need something else. So that's what they're doing. Yeah,
it's funny you say that as well. I think streaming in itself, when you... and I know for me personally, when I first started streaming, I was just trying to get used to talking on camera and talking to people and getting used to it. I think what we need to start doing or setting the precedent for our pro players is learning to talk to audiences, learning to talk to people outside of our friends and like comfort zone, especially when you are a public figure in the esports world, right? I think it's so critical. So I think that's already helped. Like, again, you look at like Ground Zero, you look at Bliss, and you look at Antic, every single interview you see with all of those guys is so spot on, and everyone's succinct, they talk phenomenally, everyone just has an awesome showing, and you look so much better. Like, it makes people want to back you more. Do you think that's something maybe the second tier teams should be trying to work on too, and try and build a bit of a public facing?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of the reason for the top teams are just good at it is just experience, right? And I think if the bottom teams or the players on the other teams want to get more experience, they should just look for any opportunities possible. They should be the ones asking for the post-game interviews. You see with a lot of the other teams, it'll be like the same recurring player that will do the interview. Just because they are more comfortable on the camera. But I can tell for a fact that not everyone started like that. And it's just about the experience and doing it and seeking interviews like this. Even they should ask to come on. This is just how they get better. It's the only way. You have to do it. You can't sit and talk into a camera by yourself. That's just gonna make it worse. You have to actually do it with people watching to get better.
I think it's actually the best quote I can give you right now is I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he runs a podcast and he says it doesn't matter who's watching, you act like there's 100 people watching. And the premise is you shouldn't be changing your behavior no matter how many people are watching, because you showing up and being yourself is more important than putting on a show unless it specifically calls for that. So it's why I freaked out when I first started doing these shows again, because I was doing it with someone else and I was like, yep, I've sort of got a bit of a crutch, and I was like, but I want to go on my own and see what happens. And again, I'm by all means quite an extroverted person, but I'm also quite introverted. I like my space and I like my time. So doing this is actually very hard for me because I'm not a journalist. I'm just trying to have fun, candid conversations with people that I want to get to know, and it's not going to do horrible things for the league. If anything, it's helping. So like that's the thing. I think people need to be a bit more proactive in this, and like you said, reaching out to do these interviews, because at the end of the day, you just look good. You feel better afterwards. You're putting yourself outside a comfort zone, which will in turn help your gaming. It will help you be a better player because, like I said, public view, if you look shit to the public, they're not going to back you. You're going to feel worse. You're going to feel uncomfortable because you're like, oh, no one likes me. Well, you're not trying to make yourself likable at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think it's a bit of an interesting correlation that there needs to be that level of, you can't just be a good gamer in gaming anymore. Yeah,
no, I agree. And I mean, the reality is that esports will not be the career for majority of us after. And just speaking, like public speaking or anything like this, will just help you in any aspect of life. So, why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not's very good at it, but he's not going to PCS though, unfortunately.
No, he's not, unfortunately.
It's sad, but at the same time, he just got pipped to the post by better teams.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk, before we go back to the PCS and sort of all that stuff too, and the team. I want to talk about you, Benvi. How's everything going in your life? Are you good? I know you've got some awesome things coming in the coming weeks and months, but I want to know a little bit more about you. Tell me about Benvi. How is Benvi?
Yeah, for sure. Pretty good. I think this split, I definitely took care of a lot of the other game aspects a lot more. It helps that it was all online, so my schedule's not disrupted, and I thought that was pretty important. Otherwise, I personally hate flying.
Really?
So that's always a bit of a problem, but we'll get through it. I've done it enough, but we'll get there.
It's not a big flight, is it, to Taiwan? It's what, maybe 8 hours?
From Perth, it's 6.5. Layover 6.5.
Oh, mate, you'll be okay. It's just.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be fine, but yeah, it's just not enjoyable.
Yeah, that's fair. So, but outside of esports as well, like, how are you doing? You said you got through some personal stuff as well. How are you, like, physically, mentally? Like, are you doing okay? Because again, I want to start trying to incorporate into these interviews more about making sure that the talent that we have, the fantastic people like yourself, are in the best possible position too. I think it's something I've always sort of focused on for myself, but I want to start trying to help you guys. At the end of the day, it's something I'm good at. So how are you doing, man? Like, where's your head at? Are you okay? Is personal life going good? Family's okay? Walk me through Benvi.
Yeah, everything's good, really. I think something that's funny is we realized quite early into playing together on GZ that everyone goes to the gym. So it's sort of like a bit of a sort of another competition within the team. Who goes to the gym more, who lifts more, etc.
Who lifts
more? So that's
more?
pretty cool.
Who's got the PBs?
It's either Kisei or Shern for sure.
Ooh.
But I'm not sure. It's probably just Shern. I think Shern's a bit bigger than Kisei.
I think Shern seems like a hidden Draku almost. Like, he doesn't show those muscles. Draku's pretty happy just to do some of those mad flexes, right? But then
Draku's huge.
Oh, he's shredded, man. I did a tweet about it today. I went to the gym and I did a tweet being like, got called Draku at the gym today. I started flexing and then I hid my calf muscles. And he liked it and I was just like, we've done it. We've made it, boys. Don't worry about it. But no, that's good to hear. So you guys all go to the gym, you all exercise. Like, I think that's a crucial part in all of this. You're sitting in a chair for 8 hours straight a day playing solo queue. It's good to stay healthy and a bit more balanced. What do you like doing at the gym? Tell us about your gym experience.
I just do weightlifting, really. Yeah, just weightlifting.
What's your favorite though? What's your big one?
Ooh. I mean, push day. I think that's pretty generic.
Day? Yeah.
It's just everyone's favorite. It just feels the best. You get the best pump. Yeah. That's about it, really.
I had a good push day today, actually. It's always push day for me, though, funnily enough. Pull day. No such thing as pull day, and leg days are non-existent, so we don't have to worry about those either. Yeah. But that's awesome, man. So, tell me one thing a little bit that you're excited for PCS. Outside of the gaming, are you guys got any cool things planned as a team? Like, I want to know what you guys are going to be up to.
I'm excited for the food. Food's good. Really cheap bubble tea everywhere. Bubble tea places everywhere. Like, every street there's like 3. It's crazy. I think before I went last time, I was like pretty mixed on bubble tea, but after being there, like, pretty big bubble tea fan. Yeah, we have nothing planned yet, but I'm sure we'll do something. I think Draku wants to do a gym vlog with everyone, so we'll probably be dragged along to that. Yeah, and I'm excited to meet the people I haven't met yet. I haven't met Ash in person, funnily enough.
He's beautiful,
meeting my teammates and meeting Antic as well. A lot of the players on Antic seem really chill, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, if I had a dream of who I wanted to meet in person, which I'm hoping I'll get to meet at DreamHacks, Swiper's one. Swiper's very close to the top. I just think me and him gelled so well, man. Like, when we had our call, we're still chatting today too, like, very similar to us. Like, you're top of the list as well. Don't stress about that. But like, yeah, Swiper's just, we're so similar. Like, everything about us are sort of just like, bro, like, you probably could be like my estranged cousin. And that was, so it's like same as that. I know Ash. I love Ash. I actually live pretty close to Ash. I'm like not even that far from him, but so hard.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's hard, man. It's all the weird shit I get sent in the mail.
Yeah.
He's always driving by with like a baseball bat, wielding it like, Aah! I'm like, Ash, man, calm down, buddy. But no, like, it's a nice thing. So I'm really excited to hear that you're excited to just meet up with these people, because they're people you interact with on a daily basis. But not getting to be in person with them is such a. I would find that quite difficult, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely weird that, like, they're probably like the people I spent the most time with in the past couple of months, and I haven't even met them in person, so it's definitely will be cool.
Now, I want to... One last thing about you a bit more before we jump back into expectations and preparation for PCS a little bit more in depth. With your journey with Ground Zero and esports in general, right, I want to talk about what your hopes are for next split and what you think Benvi is going to look like in maybe a year's time. I like sort of doing a little bit of that. So how are you feeling for next split? I know there's a little bit of controversy. Teams can swap and change. I'm really hoping your roster stays the same though. Fingers crossed, just because you guys look so good. If it ain't broke, don't change it. How are you feeling for that?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I really don't know what's going to happen next split. It's sort of up in the air for sure, but all I can really do is just try my best and improve as much as possible in PCS and hope things work out. And if things don't, I have fallbacks. Like coaching's doing really well, stuff like that. So no matter what happens, I've sort of got something I can put a lot of my time and effort into that will sort of be fulfilling. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Would you ever move to coaching an LCO team moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, that's what I wanted to do
Yeah, I
at
remember
the start
that.
of this year. But I think the problem with this region is if you're good enough to coach, you'll either be in another region, higher region, or you're just better off being a player.
Yeah.
The main problem is that the reality is a lot of the top players or the veteran players are more overqualified than the coaches. And if they're not, you'll see the coaches succeed and sort of move on pretty fast. So that's sort of just where it is at with the region. So
Yeah.
probably not coach LCO unless it's like a top team, and it would have to be because I think it would be very fulfilling and good for my growth. But I mean, playing's fun, and I feel like I'm definitely good enough. So yeah, I mean, playing just made sense to split.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something not opposed to.
Oh, good. That's what I like hearing. Because again, like you've already got your coaching, like you do it on the side. Why not do it for a team?
Yeah.
But again, I totally agree with that. If you like you said, if you are coaching a team here, you're either not as good as the players because they are the reason they're the players is they are the best, or you're trying to go overseas and be a coach there and have a bit more impact. You mentioned that is a big problem with OS. Do you think that's going to be getting fixed in the coming splits and maybe years, now that we're starting to see coaches that have been rising up from the ranks a little bit more? Do you think there'll be improvement there?
I think the path forward is probably ex-players becoming coaches, or if you are not an ex-player, you need to have a really insane skill set or experience. So I think for like Ash, for example, since now he's played on this, like coach for this GZ team, he's learned a lot from these veteran players. That skill set's definitely built up. And orgs will sort of value that more, like sort of the Calvin angle where you have to show the org that you're just as important as a player.
Yep.
Because you better be, like, you have to show so much more or be so much more impactful in this region as a coach for you to be more valued than a player.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, because it's such a harder title to maintain and be at the top of your game too. Like I think Calvin's done a really good job, but I think honestly, I couldn't actually tell you the full downfall of why Bliss wasn't successful, because by all means they should have been.
No.
But I don't think it was on Calvin. I think Calvin's drafting was still very good, and he's still a very knowledgeable man, especially with Poltron as well. Kim just chilling and helping out as well. The chat I had with Kim was really good. Where he was very confident. He was like, yeah, we're super excited. We're going all the way. And it's just a bit interesting that I think good coaching also isn't enough. You need to foster the right talent to be able to produce the outcome you want, right, too. And I think that's something I think Coach Arsh does really well, is he might not be the best at or better than you guys as players, but I think the way he fosters culture is so critical, and I think that's something I can see he's done very well, and it's something he's focused on, which I haven't seen many other coaches do. It's not about the culture, it's about winning. Whereas I think if you culture properly, you win off the back of that.
No, for sure. Ash is really, really impactful and helpful in that way. It's a very, very big boon we have.
So, okay, I want to talk about. Let's bring it up a little bit in scale. It's what's the future of OS looking like? We've always talked. I love putting this question to people just because it's such a unique one that. There's so many fucking 50 billion answers. It's, let's just get more money. We need better coaches. The players are shit. Like, I've had every sort of one. What do you think will take OS to the next level and maybe even rival PCS as a region properly?
Two biggest ones are Riot funding. If Riot gives more funding to OS, that'll help. Like stipends for the teams like they used to do. Because right now it's just not sustainable, really. Or very hard to be sustainable. And the other one is probably just server. If there's a way to get a server in the middle of sort of the Asian regions and us, that'll help. But I mean, technology hurts, and getting everyone to actually play on that hurts. There's so many like cultural barriers. Like, did the Asian teams even want to play with us? I know that was something when we were doing the PCS in-houses is a lot of them felt like, oh, we have to play with LCO players, just because we aren't there yet, and yeah, it's like the chicken before the egg. Like, how are we gonna get better if they don't play? Like, so like the PCS in-house is definitely a really good start. The fact that we could play in them, especially for players in Perth, that was great. I know me and eHop got to play on it a lot because we could play on the Singapore servers and get 60 ping. And yeah, I mean, I think sort of it's good. I feel like I made a good impression on some of the Asian players over there, making friends with some of the GAM players, the Vietnamese players like Levi and
oh, awesome.
And Slater. They're really cool. So yeah, that was definitely fun for sure. More stuff like that is good. It's just how can we get it to the eastern states as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. There's always that talk about that super server, right? You remember they talked about like big oceanic like wire under the ocean and shit, and I was sort of like, as cool as that would be, everyone's going to be playing on like 60 to 80 ping, and we're all going to hate ourselves. And I was sort of like, I remember the NA days of like 200 ping, and I hated myself then too, but I still did it. So I think we just have to sort of suffer through a little bit of downright. But then when you get to a scrim, you'll be on like 0 ping, and you're chilling, and you'll be laughing. So I think you're right. I think the funding's a big one. It's always going to be a big one. Do you think? I guess it's a bit more of a side question too. Do you think orgs are maybe working hard enough? I'm not trying to downplay orgs working hard enough.
Yeah, what more could they be doing?
What more? Yeah, that's probably the best way. What could they be doing better?
It's hard. You could say forcing players to do content, but it's very disheartening when you do content and the viewership's not there, and that's just because the viewership is much lower in our region.
Yeah.
But I mean, streaming helps in getting the personalities. Even if you like don't like what Why Not does or what he tweets or whatever, like he is getting a bit of a bad rep nowadays. It is good to bring eyes on the region, and it's better to have him here, be the villain or be hated than him not here at all. Stuff like that will help for sure. Networking from the top players just need to network with people overseas. You see, even when Antic plays, some of the NA fans or whatever, or they're like their old coaching staff that are now in America, or their ex-teammates that are playing LCS are in the chat watching. Stuff like that helps for sure, just to get more eyes.
I think that was the one thing we saw from when Peace was in the region, and it was just that full import team. Our numbers jumped, like 4,000 or 5,000, just because there was all these import players coming in, and we were like, oh great, viewers is up. And then they were like, oh sorry, Peace can't play. Oh, viewers went down. I think you're right. I think the networking is a big part, and I think that's why again, my interviews, these ones aren't getting the greatest views, but again, it's not about that. It's about bringing a voice to give people a chance, right? And we have to start somewhere, right? If no one else is going to be doing it, I'm happy to be the first, and I'll take that bullet. So I think I totally agree, using our connections, because I'm sure that a bunch of pro players are good friends with a bunch of other big even streamer pros and stuff like that too. Like I question, why aren't we getting, like, trying to get Midbeast or something in when he's actually in Australia? Like, can we get him to join in or co-stream or do something? Like, that's, again, he gets the same numbers as LCO, right? Just add those numbers together and we are now getting pretty close to some pretty damn good numbers. It's about reaching out to these people that have been here before and seeing what they can bring and what we can offer them, right? I think it's such a critical bar. And I don't like talking bad about things. You know I'm not that kind of person. But from a marketing point of view, fuck man, we could be doing so much more. So much more.
Yeah, for sure.
And
there's always more to do in every aspect, for sure.
Yeah, it hurts. Like, because I even could be doing more for myself, but I'm just limited with time because I'm stretched pretty damn thin. But still, like, I just want to see, oh shit, I just shook my whole table. I just want to see us succeed, right? And I think we need to get some more passionate people who are dedicated to do it. I think the best example of someone who wants to see us succeed is Biopanther, right? He's always trying to help and always trying to help the other teams and all that sort of stuff. I'm looking forward to when the ODT starts up and we get these orgs in there too, which is the amateur league now, which is basically grassroots for LCO. on that note, do you think that's a good thing? I've actually had a couple interviews say that amateur scenes are shit and they don't help. I want to know your thoughts. Do you think an amateur scene and a grassroots scene starting from high school, moving to university, into an amateur, into pro, is going to be helpful?
It's hard because I think if you look at it just from like an outside perspective and like how it should work, like if a player's good enough, they'll be in pro. All you need to do is get challenger and you'll be recognized. So from that you can say no, not really, but anecdotally there's so many examples of players, even myself, where I was D2 and I was sort of getting up there in the ranks, and I met Maximize, and we just joined and played amateur, and that sort of ignited my passion. And I just know so many anecdotes of people like that, where that's sort of how they got their passion and started to network with people, is just through those amateur teams, and then they got higher after that because of that. It sort of ignited the spark. So anecdotally it helps like that. I think that's a lot of players just get their start from that, just playing in a team environment. They see one of their amateur teammates get higher in solo queue, they get then pushed to get higher in solo queue, then it sort of helps players just mesh and sort of push each other forward. Is really good. But yeah, I also see the other side. At the end of the day, if you want to go pro, get high in solo queue and you'll get there. You don't need to go through ODT, and you'll probably not, I won't say, you'll probably not improve. It probably won't be the reason you get good enough. But it might be the reason you're motivated to then try and get good enough.
Yeah,
is how
true.
I'd say.
I see it like that as well. I think it has its place, right? Not only as someone who's going to be casting it, but as someone who thinks fostering. I'm going to take it sort of how Arsh does things, is that building the culture behind it first, and then seeing the success from fostering that. I think that's one thing we need to start looking at, is if we can get let's rephrase it differently, right? If we can get a bunch of high school kids to say, hey, League of Legends is the best fucking game, right? Just what they do over in Korea. They go find 14-year-old kids and say, hey, you're going to be a prodigy. You're going to be the best. And then they turn into a Chovy. And you're like, oh, fuck, man, this guy's so good. If we can start fostering that and getting these kids that are young and eager to do something in esports and say, hey, League of Legends is a good atmosphere. We're here to make you look good. That will do nothing but give them exactly what you said, that drive, that passion, the need to be the best. I feel like that's something maybe a lot of the lower tiers haven't really had, is the passion, is the love for it all. Is, yes, I'm good at the game and yes, you challenger, but I've had players come to me and say, hey man, how do I get pro? How do I become an LCO player? Because they know I'm an amateur and all that. I'm just like, mate, it's like, do you play in a team? Like, do you actively try to get better at solo queue? And I told them the exact same thing. I was just like, man, you need to be challenger. You need to be the best. And he's just like, oh, but I'm just not there. And I'm like, that's fine. How do you get there? And he's just like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, then you need a fucking coach. Go get a challenger coach and say, how do I go from here to there? And they just go, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, all right, like, that's fine. I guess you needed that little push. But I think you said it correctly, is it's about sparking a passion in people, getting people excited, and then letting them find their journey and see if it is really for them and bringing them forward. So I do agree. Like, I've seen a lot of when I was doing like ODT and like the university circuit last split, and I'll be doing it this split. The gameplay was just fun to watch, man. It was just like, I just enjoyed it because I was just screaming the whole time, because there was zero order. There was nothing was calculated. It was just ARAM mid lane after 15 minutes. I was just like, all right, man, like, let's see what's happening. But I know a bunch of coaches have started going into it. I think Fido is even going to coach it and stuff too. So we're starting to get some good names a bit more active in it, which is going to really, really help. And I think it will foster a better community. Yeah,
it definitely never hurts, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked enough about random things. PCS. You guys going to win it?
I got one more random topic that I just
Let's do it.
Or just like a shout out.
Okay.
Something I did throughout the split is just, if any players wanted extra help, I did. And two players that took me up on that offer were Kurak and Findo. Findo got a lot of coaching sessions with me, and I think, I don't want to take credit, he did a lot of it himself, but definitely he looked really good by the end of the split. Definitely top 4 support 5 support. It's close. Top
close.
5, I'd say.
Yeah.
And same with Kurak. Kurak as well. That guy's insanely talented. He's just a bit more busy with real life. But he also sort of would DM me asking about things, and I think it's hard to tell if they're good because they do that, or they're good, like, it's just a mentality thing that because they have like a really good mentality, they're just going to seek every opportunity to improve. But that stuff is really beneficial, and I think a lot of upcoming players, you'll find if you message players on the top teams, they won't just tell you to go away. If they do, then they're the outlier, and then you know for future, and it'll probably not help them in the long run anyway. But majority will help you out, and yeah, it never hurts to reach out, and you see the benefits of players who do that. So just shout out Kurak and Findo.
Hey, we love you guys. I love Findo. Me and him are actually pretty good friends in IRL. So he's a good dude. And it's really funny you say that, because when I interviewed him, he said amateur was shit and it did nothing for him. And it was actually part of the reason he actually went backwards and said, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not there, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember having a conversation with him one day being like, hey, man, are you going for LCO? He's just like, nah, dude, I won't get it. I was like, dude, just do it. Like, why don't you just trust yourself? He's just like, oh, I took a break. And I'm like, hey, man, everyone needs a break. Just go and do it. Like, what's the harm? And then literally within like a month, I saw his name on, and I'm just like, Findo, you son of a bitch, you've done it. And he's just like, yeah, man, like a lot of people backed me. I was like, yeah, dude, like, you just gotta trust yourself a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I remember one scrim we played against them, and Findo gapped me one game, and my team was like flaming me, and they were like, wow, look what you've done, look what you created, like Benvi coaching, lol. And then yeah, it sort of never let that, I never sort of got away from that. My team would always make fun of me whenever we played against Findo.
Oh no,
but I mean, good and bad, creator a monster.
Alright, well, on that note then, I love this side. This is a really great topic, and I love this topic so far. You mentioned that a lot of high elo players aren't afraid to chat and help foster new talent and stuff. What advice would you give to people who, besides reaching out, because I guess that is quite a hard thing to do, because the only reason I've gotten over my fear of reaching out to players and being like, hey, I want to talk to you for an hour, is because at the end of the day, I've got nothing to lose besides my sanity. Do you think there's anything else that these players could be doing besides hitting Challenger and asking for help from current pro players? What else could they be doing?
I mean, the other one's just watching content. There's a billion coaching sessions just publicly available. There's enough resources for anyone to hit high elo. And if you have the skill, there's enough resources to help you make it. Something I do see somewhat, and I don't want this to discourage anyone from reaching out, but some people do reach out, but they also haven't put in the work. They kind of just want to reach out and just magically it happens. But you need both. I can only help you if you are putting in the work, and my advice won't do anything if you don't play enough solid queue, if you don't try in solid queue, if you don't have that mindset. So that's probably the big thing, is they need to do it themselves, put in enough work, and the content is there, and the information is out there in the world. They just need to utilize it.
I love that you said that they just don't put in the work. I think that's the biggest issue that we have with not only gamers but just like people in general, is no one's willing to try hard. They want to find the easy solution, the easy answer, and just magically get to the next level. I'm like, sorry man, like if you want to be a professional, which is a pro player, or professional in anything, it doesn't just happen. Unless you are a giga prodigy and you were born to be a doctor and you've already had like 20 surgeries by the age of 3, nah, it's just sadly not going to be happening. And best Adam Sandler quote is, passion will beat talent 9 times out of 10. Because if you are that passionate, you are willing to outwork that person 9 times out of 10. So I think that's the best advice I would give to anyone in any scene. And it's why I'm always open to, like, when I've had people ask me to coach them for casting and stuff, I said, yeah, let's do it. Like, what do you want to know? Because I clearly have a lot of skills that I would honestly say a lot of other casters don't have. Just because I've trial and errored so many things. It's just, man, just go out and do it. Make mistakes. Fuck up. Don't be afraid to lose a game. Because you're going to lose games. Like, how many games have you lost this season? You don't have to give us the exact number, but I'm sure it's quite a few, right? Like, it's probably a rough split where you've had good wins, you've had bad losses, right? And I think everyone has them. Don't tell me that number. Let's not push that out into the world. Ground Zero doesn't lose, guys. That's the difference. We learned that here.
All I'm saying is Swiper and I are the only 2 players in Masters, I think, stuck in Masters. So, and we're going to PCS. So,
mate, then you're already you're chilling. Masters is good enough for me. I'm looking for D4, and I'll be happy with that. And I'm sitting very low platinum right now, but I'm still looking for D4. But okay, let's look at PCS now. What are your expectations for PCS? You've said that you're looking to go in, just have a good bit of a time and just be there. Not about winning or losing, it's about being there. How do you guys think you will actually do?
There
is one correct answer.
I think we'll do better than last time. But
that's what I like hearing.
Again, I'm trying not to have any expectations or anything.
Yeah.
I think just from a personal perspective, I'm a lot better than I was last time, and I feel like the team I'm on is a lot more well-rounded. So yeah, based on that, we should do better.
Yeah, I want to keep it not so specific as well. I think you guys will do the best job you can. I think you guys have built that roster that will do as best as you can, regardless of the teams you face or the circumstances you fall under. I think you guys have a really good shot at being a star team. From an analyst point of view and a caster and just an enjoyer of LCO, I think you guys have really put something together that no one should be batting an eye at. And I think it's like you said, you sort of guys got a little bit of a bad rep being like, yeah, you got some good players, but are they going to be okay? Like, I think you guys have been underestimated for far too long. And I think it's time that PCS needs to look back and go, oh shit, what do we have to verse here and actually prepare? Because I was talking to Ben, so Vestian, who's the caster for PCS, and he's sort of just like, mate, how is LCO going to do? Because we like to talk about casting and the teams, and I was just like, mate, I think PCS has something to be worried about. And he's gone, oh, and I'm just like, yeah, like, I think you need to go and watch these. He's like, I will, like, that's, you didn't say that last time. I was sort of like, yeah, like, you guys will do really good, but I said, I think PCS is still stronger. And he was just like, yeah, for sure. And now I've said to him this time, being like, I think PCS needs to sort of tie up their shoes a little bit tighter this time and really put their game faces on. And he's gone, shit, okay, like, fair enough. So I think they're a bit more, I think they're prepared, but I think you guys are just as prepared. So I'm very excited for what the future holds for all that.
Yeah, it'll be fun either way.
It's going to be perfect. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to have a blast. I'll be here at home in aircon watching. You'll be in aircon playing. So regardless, I just hope you enjoy it. Now, it does sort of bring us to the end as well, Benvi. Now, you do remember we had a fun little segment we did last time, but I've had to change it on you because I can't do the same questions, but also I think about the questions on the fly. So, pub or sub? We're going to applause the sound effect for pub or sub for you, Benvi.
Sorry, are you keeping track of how many pubs I've won? How many drinks you owe me?
Well, you don't. Well, yeah, I still technically owe you for the last one. Well, this is 2. This will be 2 for you. Shit.
And you did do a tweet.
Did I?
Yeah.
Wait, what tweet?
After we won, you were like, drinks on me, and you added Arsh and I. We'll see. All right. So
anyway, three
we'll
now.
Pub still.
Well, it depends if you do good enough. I could just say no and just say fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
But okay, 20 seconds. 20 seconds on the clock here, Benvi. I'm going to ask you some pretty hectic questions, and all you have to do is answer them to your fullest ability. And you can either get a pub or a sub. So pub is a drink, which you've already said you want a pub, so I won't even say the other one. No one wants the other one. It's really upsetting. I'm trying to be a content creator, man. But okay, 20 seconds. It is on the clock. I'll start it at the end of the first question. Benvi, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me think of a question. Why am I blanking so hard? No, okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, my screen went dark. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, I've got to stop it. Oh, I'm fucking up. Okay, let's just start it again. Let's take a break.
It's okay, take your time.
Right? First question. Who is going to be the most fun team to verse in PCS?
I didn't even know how many teams we could play against, but if we can play against CFO or PSG, that'll be awesome, because like they're just their player names.
Awesome. What's your favorite flavor of bubble tea?
Just the normal one, the taro milk tea.
Oh, yeah.
From in Taiwan. Yeah.
Best support champion in the game right now?
How many?
I would agree with that because you crushed it. And that's the timer. Only 3 questions. And then the final question is, who is someone you would recommend to jump onto this show in the future? Someone we haven't had, maybe. Who would you like to see?
You could get some spicy questions if you got Raz on, why not on? You could ask some spicy stuff.
Oh, there's...
yeah. Otherwise, King. I want to know more about King.
Okay, I can reach out to King. I can at least see, and I know I want to talk more with the Swiper and all those boys too over at Annex. So I think that's a good one. Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, Benvi, thank you so much for coming on, man, for the 2nd time. You've definitely successfully won a pub. That's 3 drinks that I owe you. You do not get to pick the price. You do not get to pick the drink. I'll be picking for you.
Okay.
It'll be a delightful basic.
That's fair.
No, I'm kidding. You can pick 1 out of 3.
Okay,
Everyone else gets 1.
I'll
You can
take
pick
those.
1.
I'll take those.
Well, thank you so much, man. Any shout-outs before we finish it off?
No, just shout out my team and my coaching staff and anyone who watched the end of this video. I guess you're interested enough in what I'm saying, so cheers. Message me if you did. I should get them to message me something just so I know. Message me Heimerdinger on Discord if you watch the end, and I'll know.
Fuck yeah. Alright, I like that. Well, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I have been Pike. That has been Benvi. And until next time, we will see you on the next adventure.